Today I will show you top 3 most popular coin sacrifice traps in chess. Let's get started. First trap starts with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and here you play bishop to c4. And then opponent plays d6 to open the way for its bishop, and here you play knight to c3, developing your knight and supporting this pawn. Then if your opponent plays bishop to g4, here you play h3, and if your opponent plays bishop to h5, then you take the pawn on e5 with your knight. If they take your queen, then it's checkmate. And here if they take your knight with their knight, then you take their bishop, and if they take your bishop, then give a check on b5 and then pick their knight. Second trap is in Stafford Gambit. White plays e4, e5, knight f3. To attack this pawn, you play knight f6. White takes on e5, and here you play knight to c6, offering the knight trade. White takes on c6, and you take with the d pawn, opening the way for your bishop. And here white plays d3 to support this pawn. Here you play bishop to c5 to put pressure on f2 pawn. White plays bishop to g5, pinning your knight. Then you take on e4, and if they take your queen, you take on f2 with check, and then it's checkmate. Here if they take your knight, then you take on f2. If king moves to e2, then you give a check with bishop to g4, and king has to take on f2, and you take white queen. Third trap is an English opening. Let's c4, e5, you play knight to c3, and black plays knight to c6. You play knight to f3, developing your knight and putting pressure on e5. Here they play g6 to fiancé to their bishop, and then you play d4. If they take your pawn, then you don't take. You play knight to d5, covering these 3 squares. And then they fiancé to their bishop. You play bishop to g5, attacking their queen. And here black best move is knight c2, e7, but if they play this knight to e7, then you take the pawn on d5 with your knight. If they take your knight with their knight, then their queen is trapped. You take on e7 with the bishop, and black queen is trapped. If they take your knight with their bishop, then you sacrifice your queen by taking on d4, and if you take your queen, then it's checkmate in 2.